Greetings, Inquisitor. I'm pleased you found this Holocron. This one contains very interesting information about the Sith Eternal Emperor Palpatine. We're going to talk today about how to meet the requirements for this character with twice the fun and half the account bloat. This is targeted more toward early to mid-game players who still have some choices to make about fleet especially, but I think there's information in here that can be useful for anyone of any level who's decided that they're going to go for the Sith Eternal Emperor. Remember, Inquisitors, before we get started, treat that like button like it's a Jedi, hunt it down, stab it with your lightsaber, slash it, force crush it, whatever you have to do, get rid of that like button right now at the start of the video. The Holocron always works better if you do that. The first decision is indeed about ships. If you want to control account bloat with getting a galactic legend, it is all about how you manage your fleet. If we look at the 7 ships that are somehow associated with the requirements for the Sith Eternal, Vader's TIE, the Emperor's Shuttle, Extinction Bomber, Scimitar, the Chimera capital ship, and the Executrix capital ship all have pilots that are relic requirements for sea. So the more of these ships that you have unlocked, the more galactic power is going to be duplicated between the character itself and also the ship that character pilots. The most effective way to build the Sith Eternal without creating a bloated account is to simply forego all of the fleet. Do not activate these ships. Don't unlock the TIE Advanced. Don't unlock the shuttle. Just leave them unactivated, and they will not contribute any galactic power to your account, no matter how high level you take the character. On the flip side, if you do decide that you're going to unlock these ships, then indeed you really need to make a commitment and take these ships all the way and make that your main fleet. If you don't want this to be your main fleet at a low level, that's the choice that you have to make. It either has to be the fleet that you're working on, or it has to be left unactivated to control your galactic power. If we look at this, there's 7 ships that on the previous page, they all represent somewhere around 80 to 90,000 galactic power and 45,000 for the bomber. And that puts us between 500 and 550,000 galactic power in fleet. Now, you also need the Phoenix to unlock Thrawn, and if you just decide to go with the Phoenix ships as well, you're going to build the Phoenix team part way, you're going to stop building them, and you're going to have ships that represent another 80,000 galactic power. You can save up to 600,000 galactic power off of the requirements of sea by simply leaving the ships alone. That is what I recommend. It's what I'm going to do on my Darth Loquitur account. I'm sharing the information out there. You can do whatever you want, but this is how I'm going to control the galactic power. Now, 600,000 galactic power in ships, and then if we look at the character requirements, we do get a couple characters that are not that desirable, but the total for all 14 of the characters is only 350,000 galactic power. So in this case, we can build a galactic legend together. When you add back in the bomber, you're looking at about 400,000 galactic power in total, rather than about 1 million if you bloat it up with ships. Keep that in mind. That's the way to control this when you build the Sith Eternal Emperor. The proposal that I'm making in this Holocron is really about doing your Sith Eternal requirements in phases. In each phase, you're going to build useful characters and you're going to make useful teams. Then you're going to move on while building other stuff in the background. It will take you about 9 months to maybe a year to fulfill all the requirements to get the Sith Eternal Emperor. But while you're doing it, you will still be able to build your account, stabilize with other good teams, play the game, get a good guild. This will not stop you from having a whole lot of fun playing the game, and then you will get the payout of the Galactic Legend. In terms of building the characters, we're going to talk about that in 3 phases. The first phase is where you're collecting shards and getting their gear to, let's say, gear 9 level, thereabouts. There's a second phase where you're working the characters from gear 9 to gear 12. That gear is typically all shared and it's not easy to get. So getting characters through those levels to gear 12 is not easy in a new account. So that's a phase of its own. And then the last phase is taking those characters to the relic level to meet the requirements. By doing it this way, we're going to be able to build up good functional teams while still having some fun. In terms of the character shards, all of the shards that we have to collect, the two hardest are the Bomber and Piet. They're both on single shard drops right now, farmed off of hard nodes, which means they will take up to 6 months to farm to full 7 stars. It's a long time, it's a big commitment, and if you're going to make the Sith Eternal, you really have to start with that very, very early on in your account and make a commitment to finishing it out. On hard node double drops, we have Krennic and Veers. Veers will be easy for you to get. Krennic will be, you'll have to focus on him, but he's not too hard with the double drops. It's half the time, so again, could take up to 3 months, but that's definitely more doable. In the Cantina, we've got the Marauder, Jedi Knight Anakin, and we can also farm Dooku shards out of the Cantina if we want to. In Fleet and Guild, Maul comes out of the Fleet currency store, and Stark comes out of the Guild store, not the Guild event store. We should not be buying stuff with Guild event tokens, but just out of the regular Guild currency store. Tarkin and Sidious. Tarkin comes out of the Cantina Energy store. Sidious comes out of the Squad Arena store. And then you do have to unlock Palpatine and Thrawn from the Journey Guide. You can do both of those with the Phoenix characters, so you will need those as part of the requirements to get the Sith Eternal. And Royal Guard and Vader, we're going to consider those relatively free. The Royal Guard, you'll get out of enough Bronzium packs that it won't be, you should never have to farm shards for the Royal Guard. Vader, you get a lot of his shards from quests. You can finish him out from the Fleet store, so not too hard to get those characters. What we want to avoid, we don't want to work on an account and get it to a certain point and then pick 14 characters and try to jam them all up to relic level. That is not very rewarding, and if they go in the wrong order, it can potentially be worse for your account rather than better, especially in Grand Arena. As your galactic power goes up, you want to have the most effective and functional characters done first, so that as your galactic power increases, you'll always be at a suitable level to challenge your opponents. The Cantina energy gets very scarce. So early game, you hit 85. In the month or two after you hit 85, you've got a lot of Cantina energy for that period of time. You can farm all the characters that you want. But once you start committing to relics, your Cantina energy is going to be heavily used for signal data, and to the extent that you almost can't farm characters out of the Cantina anymore. So we will have to potentially save some crystals and do some Cantina energy refreshes to make this all work. But you'll have to, figure that out for yourself on your own account based on what your placement is in Squad and Fleet Arena and those sorts of things. But we want to farm characters early out of the Cantina, and then later we can focus on the signal data. And then just to say, the long farms have to be started very early. We're going to build the Phoenix first to unlock Thrawn and Emperor Palpatine. My advice, do not build those rebel ships, the Ghost and the Phantom. Don't build them. Just leave them alone. Don't get the Chimera. Don't activate the Chimera. Already with just those moves and not building those ships, you'll have saved yourself about 130,000 galactic power. However, if you do want this to be your fleet and you do want the Chimera capital ship, then by all means proceed. Just be aware of how much galactic power you're going to be building in the background in order to get that. Some of these characters are very good in the game. They're very easy, very obvious characters. Vader, Palpatine, Thrawn, they're all great. They're all great very early in the game. You can make a team out of them early in the game. So this is what we want to start on first. I do recommend, even if you're going pretty directly for the Sith Eternal, You should still build the Geo team. The Geos will get you Padme. Padme will get you a home for that Jedi Knight Anakin that you need to work on anyway. So Jedi Knight Anakin, we're going to build for the Padme team. Tarkin, we don't mind relicking him very early in the game because it makes the capital ship, the Executrix, better. And because we have to do it anyway, the sooner we can improve our capital ship, the more time that it will pay off until we get the Sith Eternal Emperor. In the Cantina, we definitely want to get Dooku and Marauder going earlier. And that's your three characters, right? Jedi Knight Anakin, Dooku, and Marauder that you're going to need to look for out of the Cantina. We're going to start unlocking and building up shards for the next team while we're working on Gear 12 for those characters. So Palpatine, Vader, Thrawn, we're going to be working them toward Gear 12, and then we're already going to start the next team, and the next team is the Imperial Troopers. So we're going to start collecting their shards while we're working on Gear 12 for these other guys. Veers, Stark, Piet are requirements. They have to be built for the Sith Eternal, and you can put any two troopers that you want with them. The team does require 2 Zetas. You need Piet's Emperor's Trap. Definitely need that one. And you definitely need the Veers leadership so that the troopers get going. So Veers needs a Zeta. Piet needs a Zeta. Stark's Zeta is optional if you want it. But you also need speed mods for these characters. So Stark is the easiest one to build fast early game, but eventually you may want to switch your fastest mods over to Piet once he's up and running at full stars. Troopers really need to go first to be effective. Those two characters, either one of them, you have to farm enough speed mods and have good enough speed to go first to make this a very effective team. But even at relatively low levels, this team is going to be very effective. If you get one big character on the team, let's say you get Stark unlocked early and get him to a higher level than the rest of the team, you only need one big trooper, and this team can really start pulling its weight. You just have to go first, and you have to, take enough turns that you take the enemy out before they get a turn to go. I'm going to recommend Shore Trooper and Range Trooper as support, because they can be built to any gear level you want. If you want to build a big Shore Trooper, that's fine. You can build him big along with the rest of the team. Take him to Gear 12, take him to Relic level. He's a great character. There's no problem with that. But if you want to leave the range and the Shore Trooper at low level, you just need them for their passives to make the officers run. And when you get 3 Relic officers, you could have these 2 characters in at Gear 10, Gear 11. It doesn't even matter. They're just there for their passive. So with the Shore Trooper, at the start of the encounter, he gains Taunt. But the important thing is, whenever another Empire unit uses a special ability and Shore Trooper is taunting, they gain 15% turn meter. So he starts out taunting. So right from the very start, when Stark, Piet, and Veers are doing their special abilities, they're also getting 15% turn meter, which really drives this team to go fast and get around to their second set of turns. Even if you don't get a kill to trigger Veers' leadership skill, this team can still get around to a second turn due to this 15% turn meter from Shore Trooper. Range Trooper also gives Imperial allies a 50% chance to call another buffed ally to assist, and because of Emperor's Trap, anytime any character starts their turn, they're going to get a stack. Everybody's going to get a stack. So all your characters are always going to be buffed and always have a chance to pull that assist. And then the ability on Range Trooper is worded pretty interesting as well. It says they gain protection up, protection recovery, as you all know. That's the way to really do well in Grand Arena. Getting your protection back, getting full banners is very important. And then at the end of that skill, it says then another random ally attacks and Range Trooper assists. So it's not that he's attacking and somebody else is assisting. The likelihood is that one of your better troopers that's already relicked is the one who's going to be taking the attack, and then Range Trooper assists. So it's an interesting way that it's written, but it's a great skill. It's banner recovery, and it triggers all of your troopers to go more often and assist. So with these two, not even much investment needed. You relic those 3 officers, and you have yourself a very good and very effective Imperial Trooper team. There's also, at this point, if you're relicing your Dooku, there's an interesting little team you can build. Similarly, you relic that Dooku to 6 as one of the requirements, but then you build this little team in the background. Newt Gunray comes out of the Squad Arena store. He is really not hard to build. Asajj, similarly, not hard to build. Jango, if you want a Hound's Tooth, you probably got Jango going anyway. And then Night Sister Zombie is the only character on this list that you would actually have to spend a little bit of time farming up shards for. But again, none of these characters have to be that good. And in fact, the Night Sister Zombie doesn't have to be that good either. You make Dooku fast, so he goes and he puts all of your separatists under stealth. Asajj is a separatist, so she goes under stealth. Zombie is not, so she stands there. And it's the only character that the opposing team can target, and they have to kill the zombie over and over and over again. If they've decided to bring an area effect attacker, like Grandmaster Yoda or Anakin or somebody like that attacks area effect, you have to kill Asajj 3 times before she stays dead. And all of your area effects are going to be triggering the counterattacks from Dooku, and he's going to be running back and forth across the screen, laying waste to the enemy team, stunning people until such point as they get him under control. So again, this is not a team that's meant to be great or to be winning a bunch of stuff, but for the cost of just a few materials, not even that good of gear, you can build this team, put it on defense, and your opponent has to bring something worthwhile to beat it. And that's good because maybe there's another defensive team you've got that's going to get a hold because they've had to commit to beating this team. So this is a real low investment team, manages your galactic power. You don't have to build a bunch of characters you don't want. So we like that kind of stuff. The last team that we're going to build is called, I call them the Banner Thieves. And we're going to start farming Maul, Marauder, Sidious. And in addition to that, we're going to get a Darth Scion going and Bastila Shan Fallen. And again, we don't have to relic the Scion or the Bastila Shan. We do have to get them good enough gear that they don't die instantly, but we're just wanting them on the team for other effects. And by now, in this phase, if you haven't already farmed up your Krennic and your Royal Guard, you need to do that. You should have the Royal Guard already, and Krennic should be not too hard to finish. So the Banner Thieves, the way it works, you put Darth Maul in the lead, and for this I am recommending that you invest in the Zeta just to mess with people. Put Darth Sidious, Sith Marauder. Those 3 are all requirements for the Sith Eternal. And then we're adding in that Scion and Bastila Shan Fallen. The Zeta on the Maul lead gives 20% turn meter at the start of combat. It gives 20% dodge chance. And when you dodge and at the start of the turn, you get that 20% turn meter in stealth. So what happens right at the start of the encounter, let's say you've been able to get these characters all up around 240 speed. They will get an extra 20% speed, and they'll be going around 290 speed. And for most opponents, if they don't read it, if they don't know that's going to happen, and they bring in characters that are 250, 260 speed, all of a sudden your whole team is faster than their whole team with this 20% turn meter boost. So this team has to be timed. You have to have enough good mods, and I suggest you use all speed mods on the team. And they should be within about 10 speed of each other. And again, if you're in that 240 to 250 range, that's good. Maybe 230 to 240 would be okay. But don't spread them out too much, right? You want them all to go back to back to back. Scion goes first, rips any buffs off the opposing team. If they have tenacity up, that goes away. That's the most important thing. Then your middle 3 go. Sidious goes, he puts on debuffs. Darth Maul goes, he puts on a bunch of debuffs. Bastila goes, she puts on a bunch of debuffs. And then when Marauder takes his turn, this is a Relic 7 Marauder at some point. When that Marauder takes his turn and throws his lightsabers, he gets bonuses for every debuff on the opposing team. And he should be able to take out one of the opposing characters. Now from there, as a defensive team, we don't really care if they win. It's fine if the opponent wins that match. But if we have a team that can frequently jump in there, strip off some protection, kill one character, that's taken away so many banners, that's going to be an ugly win for the opponent. And that can be the difference between winning and losing a Grand Arena. So again, Grand Arena is not always about putting defenses that gets holds. It's more about putting defenses that are going to take banners away from your opponent or trick them in some way that they don't realize. And this is an interesting little team. Now, if you don't want to commit that Zeta to Maul, I get that. It's not a very good Zeta, and it's only good like for this team. And even then, it's not a premium Zeta. But if you don't want to invest in that, you can use your Emperor Palpatine here as well. Put the Maul, the Scion, and the Marauder in with that, and the Sidious. And it's the same theme, except now we're going to strip off the buffs with Scion, and then, Emperor's going to go potentially stun people, potentially take another turn with all the debuffs that he gets. Same thing with Maul, and the same thing with Sidious. They have the chance to do an area effect that puts debuffs on everybody and take an extra turn immediately. And if the stuns go off from Palpatine, this team, if it goes first, can annihilate the other team before they get to do anything. So this doesn't have to be a defensive team anymore. If you want to use it on offense, you can save these characters and actually use this as an offensive team if you want to save your Vader for something else, for example. So again, this is a way that we can make use of the required characters that we've already got to build. And then the last phase is just finishing out Krennic, Dooku if you didn't already do that, and Mandalorian Armorer. Now, in my opinion, you need the Mandalorian Armorer or Wat Tambor to take Sith Eternal to the next level and really make him able to solo most of the stuff in the game. So I can't guarantee that people can get Wat Tambor, but surely, as part of this guide, you can farm up to Mando Armorer and at least get that character going. Once the Mandalorian puts 3 stacks of Beskar onto Sith Eternal, that's pretty much game. Sith Eternal at that point can beat almost anything else by himself, even if the rest of the team is killed in the process. So that's fine. We don't mind. A win is a win, and especially in things like Squad Arena, that'll allow us to climb really high in Squad Arena every day. So we're going to work on this Mandalorian Armorer. And then the last phase, when we get access to the Sith Eternal himself, you still have to farm tokens in order to do the events that will unlock the character. Resist the urge to be in a big hurry for that. I know once you get all the requirements met and the Sith Eternal Emperor is within your grasp, it's real tempting to get in there, do the 50 energy refreshes, do the 100s, do the 200s, spend it all on 6 energy nodes and just jam those tokens, get those events done. I would recommend, make your normal refreshes. If you want to upgrade and do the 100 crystal refreshes to make it go faster, that's fine. But don't get carried away and don't throw away all your energy on bad nodes. So for me, on the Loquitur account, when I do this, I'm going to continue to farm the stuff that I want anyway. I'm going to start preparing the relic for my next character while I'm farming up the tokens for Sith Eternal. So I'm going to be focusing on dark side nodes like 9C, like 8E that has the injector head for the Sith Eternal Emperor himself. 8C has stun cuffs, 8B has stun guns, and 6G has Carbantes, and it's only an 8 energy node. So those are all critical pieces of gear that you need to farm. And if you go on, get in there, farm the heck out of that stuff while you're getting your tokens, you'll be doing much more for your account as a whole than you would be if you went to, and let's say 3A is an example of a 6 energy node, and it's a pretty good one with Mark III detonators and the Mark I stun cuffs that you use for Ugnaught armor. So that's not a horrible node. But if you end up farming that for 14 days straight, it's really a lot of farming on a node that's good, but you would rather have, 3 weeks of farming stun cuffs than 2 weeks of farming Mark I stun cuffs and detonators. So The difference in how long it's going to take you to unlock that Sith Eternal is probably only a matter of a week to 10 days. If you're being careful and doing it in the right way, surely it's only a week difference. So think about it. Again, this is the way I'm going to do it on the Loquitur account. I'm just giving the advice for people who may want to take it. Think about your whole account, not just trying to get the Sith Eternal as fast as you can. For the Sith Eternal team itself, again, we want that armor or Wat Tambor, one or the other. You can use whatever you have. So if you've already built Bastila Fallen for that other team, Scion for that other team, we've got Marauder, we've built the armor. That gets you a 5-man team that can climb in arena pretty well just to start out with. You can mix and match, put other characters in. Maybe eventually you want to get the Triumvirate, get that Traya in there, and get that Nihilus going. So however you want to build your C team, again, on the Loquitur account, what I'm going to do is get the Sith Eternal Emperor first, and then if there's other things that I want in his team, I'll build them afterwards. I think that's a better order than trying to already build the arena team that you want for the Sith Eternal Emperor before you build the Emperor himself. Use those materials on the requirements in order to get him, and then finish up his team. Like I said, as long as you've got that armor and some other Sith to throw in there, this should be able to climb to the top of the arena for you every day. So now we've got a graphic, and this is just kind of to show you how the phases work, at least in my mind, kind of how I'm doing it on the Loquitur account. It's a little bit more efficient than what I'm doing on the Loquitur account because I actually went for the Imperial Troopers team a little faster. But this is the way I would recommend for a newer player. Vader, Thrawn, Tarkin, Emperor Palpatine, Anakin. Those 5 are the 5 premium characters out of this setup. They're all good for their own reasons. You want to build all of them. So we're going to start with those. We're going to work on their shards. We're going to get them up and going. And in that first box, you can see we've also had to gear up the Phoenix and get that Thrawn going in the first place. In the next box, as soon as we've got the game established, and this is for a new player who's non-hyperdrive, this should be happening already, well before you ever get to level 85. You're still working on Vader, Thrawn, Tarkin, Emperor Palpatine, Anakin. And now you've started to get the shards for your bomber. You're already going to start the shards for Piet. Dooku and Marauder, get them going. And then start with Stark and Veers. They're not too hard to get, but you do have to watch for Stark out of that guild store. And you do have to, watch for Veers where you can get him. So you're going to start working on those characters for the Imperial Troopers team. And then in the third box here, you can see we're still working on the shards for Bomber and Piet. We've got Stark, Veers, and Piet going. We're working on their Gear 9. And with Vader, Thrawn, Tarkin, we're working toward Gear 12. Now, for me, when I go Gear 10, 11, 12, those are a lot of the same pieces. They're shared among characters, a lot of Carbantis, stun cuffs, stun guns, things like that. So that, to me, just those few gear levels, getting them to Gear 12 is a phase all of its own. So we got the key 5 characters are in that phase while we start building this Imperial Trooper team. And you can see at the bottom, we're going to start collecting up some shards for range and shore trooper like we talked about earlier. In the last box, the 4th box over here, now we're still working on the Bomber and Piet. Now we're starting to get Scion, Maul, Sidious, anything left for the Royal Guard if we need to. We're gearing up the range and shore trooper. We've got Dooku and Marauder that we're starting to invest in heavily now. And for the leaders of the troopers for Stark, Veers, and Piet, now we're getting them to Gear 12, while the guys at the very top, we're putting relics on them. And if you look at the timeline for this map, this is probably, if you started free-to-play, non-hyperdrive, by the time you get to this 4th box, that's 5 or 6 months into the game. Just to kind of give you a perspective on time, I would expect you to take 5 or 6 months to get to that box. That box is repeated then as the first box on this one to kind of, put us in the same position. Next box over, once we've got relics on all those key characters, we're going to start relicking the Stark, Veers, and Piet. We're going to continue to work on those other characters with Scion, Maul, Sidious, and the Guard. We're getting Krennic. We're working on Krennic now. We've got Dooku and Marauder that we're finishing out to Gear 12, if you haven't already done Dooku. And then in the second to last box, now we're working on Krennic Shards in the armor, and we're gearing them up. We're finishing out that Banner Thieves team with Scion, Maul, Sidious, and the Guard. Again, Scion is not a requirement. If you don't want to build that team, you don't have to build Scion. I put him in there because I feel like that team is worth building. Scion is worth building, so you may as well do it while you're building the rest of your Sith. And in the last box, we're just finishing up. You know, we're getting our armor to Gear 12. We're getting our Krennic to Gear 12 and Relic level, and putting the finishing touches on the team. And then I didn't go into the next phases with building the Sith Eternal himself because, well, I don't think that deserves its own box. So again, just to recap, this is kind of the idea that you're going to build that Empire team first. The Vader, Thrawn, Palpatine team, you're going to build that first. You're going to take it all the way to Relic. We're going to go ahead and build Geos at some point in our early account. We're going to unlock Padme. We're going to take Anakin to Relic 7 early in the game for the Padme team because it's a good thing to do and he's a requirement for the Sith Eternal. So those things are all working, right? We get those going. We start farming the long farms. We work on that Imperial Troopers team next. We start bringing that up. That's a very functional, very effective team. Then we start working on our banner stealing team, and we put that on defense for a couple months while we're working that up to Relic level. And then once it's at Relic level, like I said, that can convert to an offense team if you really want to use it that way with Palpatine. Then we start finishing out the relics on those troopers, and now they're taking out just about anything they want in the game. We're building the characters up. We finish it out with the armor and Krennic and the Royal Guard, and then we're done. So that's the way that I would build the Sith Eternal. Manage your galactic power by carefully managing which ships you activate. If you've already got the ships activated, there's not much you can do about it. But my advice there, don't have a 3-star Scimitar and a Relic Maul that's giving you 37,000 galactic power. If you're going to have that ship and you're going to have it unlocked, make it a ship, take it all the way, and make it part of a fleet that you use either on offense or defense in Grand Arena, if not in Squad Arena. So either skip it entirely or go all the way. That is my advice with the ships. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Inquisitors should have destroyed the like button at the start, but if you haven't, get it now. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this in the future. Thank you for watching this Holocron. See you in the next one.